All right, so today we're going to be looking into something pretty awesome. Um, 3D printed prosthetics for animals.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, we found this really heartwarming story on Fox News about this teenager who helped out a shelter dog. And then we've also got this French podcast, which sort of looks at, where this whole thing could be headed in the future.
Yeah, that's really interesting, right? Like, I think it's amazing to see this tech being used for, such a good cause.
Yeah, definitely. And it's like, imagine a dog who's maybe had trouble getting around is suddenly able to run and play again thanks to 3D printing. It's
Yep.
pretty remarkable, and that's basically what happened for this dog, Tryla. She's a 6-year-old pit bull mix at the Southampton Animal Shelter out in New York.
So is this the one from the Fox News story?
Yeah, exactly. So she'd lost her front right leg, probably from being hit by a car, and had spent like 2 years at the shelter and was having trouble getting adopted.
Oh, wow, 2 years.
Yeah.
Yep.
But then this girl, Sarah Barros, comes along. She's a 16-year-old robotics whiz kid from Southampton High School.
Why, 16 years old and she's already doing this kind of stuff.
I know, right? And her school counselor actually challenged her to create this prosthetic leg for Tryla.
That's incredible.
Mm.
It's really inspiring to see young people getting involved in this kind of work.
Right. And Sarah really put her heart and soul into this thing. She researched weight distribution in dogs just to make sure that the prosthetic would be comfortable for Tryla and went through a bunch of different designs to get it just right.
That level of dedication is incredible. I think it really speaks to the potential impact this technology can have on animal welfare.
For sure. So how does this 3D printing thing actually work?
Okay, so basically you start by making a digital model of the animal's limb, usually using 3D scanning.
Oh,
And then this digital model is like a blueprint for the 3D printer, which then basically builds the prosthetic layer by layer from materials like plastic or even like these super strong lightweight composites.
composites, what are those?
So they're these materials that are made by combining different elements to make them, really strong and durable, but still lightweight, which is important, for animal prosthetics because they got to be able to handle a lot of wear and tear.
So it's like building a leg with a super precise layering machine?
Yeah, pretty much. It's actually amazing how intricate these designs can be and how well they can be tailored to each animal's needs.
That's wild. So what about Tryla? Did the prosthetic actually help her out?
Yeah, from what the sources say, it seems like she's moving around much easier and she's way more active and just generally happier.
Ah, that's so great to hear.
It really sounds like it's improved her quality of life.
Yeah, for sure. So is she still at the shelter?
Yeah, I think so. She's still looking for her forever home.
Oh, man. Well, hopefully her story will inspire someone to give her a chance.
Fingers crossed.
But thinking about it, this technology can help way more animals than just Tryla, right?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
One of the huge benefits of 3D printing is that it can make prosthetics way more affordable because, traditional prosthetics can be really expensive.
Yeah, for sure.
So this opens up access to this kind of care for a way wider range of animals.
That's amazing. It's like it's giving these animals who might have been overlooked a chance at a better life.
Right.
Especially, I would imagine, for animals in shelters, right?
Absolutely. I think a 3D printed prosthetic could be the difference between an animal staying in a shelter or finding a loving family. It's really combining cutting edge technology with compassion.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So we've seen how it's helping animals now, but where do you see this going in the future? What's next for 3D printed prosthetics?
Ooh, that's a good question. Well, researchers are already working on some super cool advancements. Like imagine prosthetic with built-in sensors that can track the animal's movement.
Whoa, really?
Yeah, and even adjust the fit automatically or monitor things like gait analysis.
Oh, wait, what's gait analysis?
So it basically analyzes how the animal walks, like, how they distribute their weight, their stride length, stuff like that.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, it can help identify subtle lameness or discomfort that might not be obvious otherwise.
So it's like taking personalized care to a whole new level.
Yeah, and there are going to be a lot of other advancements too. The materials science field is evolving so fast, so we're likely to see these devices become even more durable, lightweight, and biocompatible.
So we're talking about prosthetics that aren't just customized, but can also last through all of an animal's adventures.
Exactly.
This is seriously mind-blowing stuff.
There's definitely a lot more to talk about too. We've only just touched on some of the ethical stuff and potential challenges that come with this field.
Okay, so we've got the basics, but it sounds like we're just getting started.
Right. There's a whole other side to this story that we should explore.
All right, listeners, you do not want to miss this. We'll be right back with part 2 of our deep dive into 3D printed prosthetics for animals. Welcome back. So we're jumping back into our deep dive on 3D printed prosthetics for animals, and I'm really curious to explore some of the trickier parts of this tech.
Yeah, definitely. It's super important to remember that, even though this technology has all this amazing potential,
Right.
it's not like, perfect solution.
Yeah.
So you think about it carefully and look at it from all angles.
Right. It's not just like print a leg and you're done. There's
Yeah,
so much more to think about, like, how the animal is doing overall, the challenges that come up with different kinds of animals, and even like the long-term effect.
exactly. Like
Right.
a prosthetic that works great for a dog might not be right for a cat or a horse.
Right.
Cause their anatomy and how they move is totally different.
Mhm.
And those differences have to be considered when you're designing the prosthetic.
So it's not just about like making it bigger or smaller. It's about figuring out how each animal moves and interacts with the world, right?
Exactly.
Hmm.
Like think about a dog compared to a horse.
Huh.
So a dog's prosthetic leg mostly needs to handle weight and like basic walking.
Okay.
But a horse's leg has to deal with way more force, especially when they're running fast.
That's true.
So the materials, the design, even how it's attached to the horse, all those things have to be thought about.
It's like you're designing for different athletes, each with their own needs and, physical demands.
Exactly. And then there's the like mental side of it for the animal. You
Ah.
can't just assume they'll be totally fine with a prosthetic.
Right.
There's going to be an adjustment period, both physically and mentally.
So it's not just about them being able to move again. It's about making sure they can really thrive with the prosthetic. How do you approach that part?
Well, it involves working really closely with vets, animal behaviorists, and of course the animal's owners.
Yeah.
There's
Okay.
a lot of like watching and making adjustments to make sure the prosthetic is comfortable, working right, and not stressing the animal out.
So it sounds like a really personalized process, not like one size fits all.
Exactly. Every animal is different, and we have to respect their needs and how they respond.
We talked earlier about how 3D printing can make prosthetics more affordable, but realistically, are there still roadblocks to making it available everywhere? I imagine there's still some costs involved, right?
Yeah, definitely. The upfront cost of the 3D printer, the software you need to design it, and the materials themselves can still be a problem for some clinics and shelters.
So it's not like it magically solves a cost issue. Are there ways to like overcome those financial hurdles?
Yeah, there are some organizations that are working on making open source designs for prosthetics. So those designs can be shared and changed by anyone, which can make the design process way cheaper.
Oh, that's cool.
And there are also these community groups popping up where people who know how to 3D print donate their time and resources to make prosthetics for animals who need them.
That's awesome. It's like a movement to make this tech available for everyone,
It's pretty inspiring to see people coming together to help out in that way.
for sure. So we've talked about some of the like practical and financial challenges, but what about the bigger picture? Are there any ethical things to think about when it comes to using 3D printed prosthetics for animals?
Oh yeah, for sure. That's a really important part of this whole conversation. Just because we can make something doesn't mean we always should.
All right.
We have to be responsible and always put the animal's well-being first.
You mentioned bait analysis before. Can you explain how that helps make sure things are being done ethically?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
So gait analysis gives us all this data to see if the prosthetic is actually helping the animal. Like it can tell us if the animal's uncomfortable or if their movement is being messed up in any way. And if the data shows that the animal isn't adjusting well, then we might need to rethink using a prosthetic.
Yeah, that makes sense. It's about using tech responsibly and making decisions based on data that put the animal's needs first.
Exactly. Another ethical thing to think about is informed consent. Like any medical procedure, the animal's owners need to understand the risks and benefits before they decide about the prosthetic.
It's about being open and making decisions together.
Absolutely. And we also got to think about the animal's instincts and how they naturally behave. A prosthetic might help them move better, but we need to make sure it doesn't mess with their ability to do things they normally would, like digging, climbing, or swimming.
Right. So finding that balance between helping them and letting them be themselves.
Exactly. Ethical stuff should always be a big part of how we use this technology.
It seems like we've covered so much from the technical details to the ethical side. It's clear that this tech is complex and has a lot of different angles. But even with all that, it's hard not to be excited about how it can make things better for animals.
I agree. It's definitely an area with a lot of potential. And even though there are challenges, the progress we're making is really amazing.
It's like a reminder that tech can be a good thing when it's used thoughtfully and with compassion.
Totally. And as we keep exploring how 3D printing can be used in animal care, I think we're going to see even more innovative and heartwarming stories.
I can't wait. And speaking of innovative stuff, we're going to jump into the future and explore some seriously mind-blowing possibilities.
This is where things get really interesting.
Get ready, listeners, for a glimpse into a future where 3D printing totally changes animal care in ways we can only dream of right now. All right, so welcome back to the deep dive. It's time for the final part of our, exploration into 3D printed prosthetics for animals. We've talked about all those heartwarming stories, the tech itself, and even, some of the ethical stuff. But now it's time to look ahead.
Yeah, I'm excited to dive into the future stuff.
Me too.
Yeah.
So we've mostly focused on prosthetics, but what other ways do you see 3D printing being used in animal care, in the future?
One area that's really cool is custom implants and surgical guides.
Hold on, custom implants for animals? That sounds like something straight out of sci-fi.
I know, right? It might sound crazy, but it's becoming a reality. Imagine a dog with a really bad bone fracture. With 3D printing, surgeons can make an implant that fits perfectly, which helps it heal faster and, reduces the chance of problems.
Wow, so it's like giving each animal a total unique solution. What about those surgical guides you mentioned?
So basically, they're like high-tech blueprints for surgery.
Oh, okay.
They help vets do those really complex surgeries with incredible precision. So it's less invasive and the animal recovers quicker.
So it's like a GPS for vets guiding them through the surgery.
Yeah, that's a great way to put it.
Yeah.
And it's not just for bones either. 3D printing is being used to make orthotics and braces for animals that have things like arthritis or hip dysplasia.
So it's not just replacing limbs, but also helping the ones they already have.
Exactly. And these things can really improve their mobility and quality of life, for animals who might have trouble getting around.
Okay, my mind is officially blown. Could 3D printing be used to create models for training vets and teaching pet owners too?
Oh yeah, definitely. We're already seeing that happening. 3D printed models of animal anatomy are super helpful for vet students. They can practice procedures and learn about different species in a safe way.
It's like a flight simulator, but for vets.
Right. And these models can also help pet owners visualize and understand those complicated medical conditions so they can make better decisions about their pet's care.
It's like getting to see inside your pet, which can be really helpful. What about animals in the wild, though? Can 3D printing help them too?
Absolutely. Imagine making custom tracking devices for endangered animals. That would let researchers keep an eye on them and protect them from poachers better.
That's amazing. That's like giving conservationists a whole new set of tools. And what about injured wild animals?
3D printing can make prosthetics and orthotics for them too, which gives them another chance at surviving in the wild. It's really cool how this tech can be used to help all kinds of animals.
We've talked about implants, prosthetics, educational tools, even conservation. Is there anything 3D printing can't do when it comes to animal care?
Well, it's not magic, but it's definitely changing what's possible. We're even seeing 3D printed habitats and enrichment devices for animals in captivity.
So like making better environments for animals in zoos and sanctuaries.
Exactly. These structures can be made to look like their natural habitats, which encourages them to climb, explore, and do the things they would normally do in the wild.
It's like bringing the wild to them. That's awesome. So as we wrap up, what's the most important thing you want listeners to remember about 3D printing and how it's changing animal care?
I think the big thing is that it's not just about the tech itself. It's about what it allows us to do.
Yeah.
Being able to create these custom solutions, make care more accessible and affordable, and just push the limits of what's possible for helping animals. That's the really amazing part of 3D printing.
It's inspiring to think about all the animals who are going to have better lives because of this. And it's exciting to know that we're just getting started.
Totally. The future of animal care is being shaped right now, and 3D printing is a big part of it.
I think that's a great place to end. It's been amazing exploring this topic, and I hope our listeners are feeling as inspired as I am.
Me too. The possibilities are endless, and I can't wait to see what the future holds for 3D printing in the animal world.
Well, until next time, keep exploring, keep learning, and keep diving deep into the world of science and technology. Thanks for listening.